It is so good to see you. Believe it or not, I missed you. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to another season of Life Changes with Jay. And I'm going to explore some more people this season, their charts, and I want to highlight some things that I noticed about their charts, whether it's about them personally or a specific event in their life that I think is really important to know. So I'm really looking forward to this season. I think you'll enjoy it. And for now, I want to start on a specific singer. And I have to be honest with you, I don't really keep up with this singer, but there's a reason why I felt like I needed to cover her chart. And this singer is none other than Doja Cat. Maybe you know who she is, maybe you don't. She's pretty popular and she's definitely made a name for herself in the entertainment industry. So, more than likely, you have at least seen her. So, just in case you don't know who she is, Doja Cat is a American rapper, singer, songwriter, and record producer. Born and raised in Los Angeles, California, she began making and releasing music on SoundCloud as a teenager. And her song "So High" caught the attention of the RCA Records, with whom she signed a recording contract prior to the release of her debut extended play "Purr" in 2014. So since then, she's released several albums. She's become really popular, and she's also done some music with other artists as well. So her name is Doja Cat. And the reason why I wanted to cover Doja Cat, there is a personal reason for me, because I felt like I was really confused by her. And I just wanted to get some clarification for myself about who she was as a person. And I felt like, I kind of feel like I did that. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you today. Okay, so the primary reason why I wanted to do this on her is, if you know her already, you know she's pretty different. She's different. She's really, really different. And so when I first looked at her birth date, before I saw it, I was expecting her to be either a Scorpio or an Aquarius. And then I saw her birth date and realized that technically she is a Libra. Now, I don't know how much you know about Libras. Maybe you are one or you know one. Typically, what I have read about the sign Libra is that it's not a sign that draws a lot of attention to itself. And I've found this to be true. Like most Libras that I've met or have encountered, if you saw them in a crowd, like you walked in a room and there was a crowd of people, you would not look in the crowd and say, "Oh, that's a Libra right there," because like, "Oh, this is the person with the pink hair. I know this is the Libra." That usually wouldn't happen. They usually fit in with everybody else in terms of their decor, their demeanor, how they dress, how they present themselves. It's known to be a pretty refined sign, and they use their charm. Those are the things that they rely on to kind of assimilate and kind of fit in and get along well with other people. So when I started to get more exposure to Doja Cat, I was a little confused, especially after I saw her birth date, October 21st, 1995. And I saw she was a Libra. And I was dumbfounded. I was dumbfounded first. And then my second thought was, okay, so I guess she has some planets in Scorpio somewhere, or maybe Aquarius. And then I looked, and there's no planets in Aquarius and no planets in no, well, I'll take that back. She does have one planet in Scorpio, but it was Venus, which really still confused me because that's not enough In my humble opinion, I've just been studying astrology for several years now. In my humble opinion, that's not enough to account for her uniqueness. Um, so I had to dig a little deeper. And here's what I came across, and here's what I think contributes to her being so different, even though she's a Libra. So the first thing I noticed is, you look at her chart, her rising sign is Libra. Again, threw me off because typically the astrologers will tell you that their first house has to do with how you present yourself to the world. And again, Libra is not really a sign that goes out of its way to set itself apart from other people. But here we have Doja dressed in all red, head to toe, and paint, or changing her, hair color, hair different styles, or wearing something else. Like she goes out of her way to look different. Then I noticed that her rising sign is in like 29 degrees Libra. And in fact, the rest of her first house is covered with Scorpio. And so I thought, okay, maybe that has something to do with it. So you have Venus, her Venus in Scorpio that's in the first house, which says a lot for someone being socially acceptable, I guess you could say. It's associated with beauty and being able to socialize with other people. And in person, she's probably very good at with people and socializing with people and getting along and all of that. So I don't question that part. But in terms of her, I guess you could say, in terms of her brashness and her determination to be who she wants to be, no matter what people say and how they feel about it. To me, that equates more to a lot of Scorpio being in her first house. And so with it there, that makes her more determined. It can also make her a bit opinionated and maybe even self-centered, or, maybe even a little bossy to some extent. Um, so her covering herself in red body paint and just making herself set apart in that way, that could be a part of it, because I've seen Scorpio express itself that way in other people, where just in a very extreme way to that person, it feels right to them, but other people see it and they're just like, oh my God, what is he or she doing? And so that's what I'm seeing in her. So that's what I equate that to. Perhaps most of her first house being in Scorpio. That's number one. Number two, she has Leo over her MC. Now, I can't recall if I've mentioned this or not, but the more charts that I look at, what I've noticed is that people tend to communicate like their MC. And I know we say that Mercury is the planet that rules communication and thinking, and that's true. It's very, very true. However, a lot of times when I look at a person's MC and the sign that's over it, and then I look at how they interact with people, I tend to see the sign that's over the MC the most. For example, if a person had Cancer over their MC, they may be very indirect in the way that they handle people, because Cancer is supposed to be a shy and reserved sign. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't find sun Cancers that are the life of the party, but again, you have to take into consideration the other things that are in their chart, right? But a person who has Cancer over their MC, that's someone that is more likely to be very indirect in their communication with you. And I'm saying this based on personal experience. I know of someone who has that over their MC, and they will, you can ask them a question and they may not answer you directly. They're kind of go around to answer you, but never actually answer you. Not all the time. They leave details out and stuff like that. And so I'm saying all that to say, with her having her MC in Leo, when you think about the sign Leo, what traits come to mind? Center of attention, self-centered, just like before, self-centered, bossy, dramatic. Some people call Leos drama kings and drama queens. And so that may have something to do with how she expresses herself as well, in terms of doing things that she knows are going to get people, she knows it's going to get your attention. She knows you're going to have something to say about it. And to her, that's just fine. That's, to her, it's just like, okay, great. You have something to say. Perfect. I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing, but thank you for the attention. And so I think that has something to do with that. So that's number 2, Leo, MC. Number 3, at some point not too long ago, she had transiting Uranus conjunct her prenatal solar eclipse in natal 7th house. Let me explain that a little bit. So if you're watching this, I would imagine you're familiar with transits. So basically, every planet is continuing to transit. And our birth chart just shows a snapshot of the transits at the time. So not too long ago, she had Uranus, which was transiting over the prenatal solar eclipse. If you have not heard about a prenatal solar eclipse, it's basically exactly what it says. You have your solar eclipse, you have your lunar eclipse, and those happen regularly, right? Those always occur in a sign. So usually we look at the ones that happen after birth, but there is a way to look at the one before birth. And there is a practice of looking at the prenatal one, which is basically the lunar eclipse, the last lunar eclipse before your birth, and the last solar eclipse before your birth. And if you go to astro.com, you can have that put in. You don't have to figure it out. Like every time you pull up your chart, you'll see it. I've recently started using this, and I have found this to be very telling, actually. And I find that it's often associated with events that take place for people. And this season, you're going to see that in one of the subjects that I'm talking about. It'll be really obvious. But with her, when she had transiting Uranus to start conjuncting her prenatal solar eclipse, I feel like it had an impact on how she represented herself. For instance, Uranus is all about shock, all about being original, doing things your own way, dancing to the beat of your own drum, walking to the beat of your own drum, whether you're going to dance, walk, run, whatever, but deciding that you're going to do something the way you want to do it. And the fact that it was conjunct that at that time, and the 7th house is all about others, other people, and how we relate to other people. First house is about us and how we want to express ourselves. 7th house is about how we're interacting with other people. And something may have changed for her around that time in terms of how she felt she wanted to communicate with other people, how she wanted to be seen. Maybe she was tired of something specific, so she decided, hey, you know what? I'm not going to do it this way anymore. Forget what everybody else says. This is how I'm going to do it. So it's like something happened someday. And you know what? I wanted to say something happened one day and then she decided that, but I take that back. As someone who has been aware of their own Uranus transit, it doesn't happen one day. If you make a drastic change to your life, it's usually not just one day. You've been leading up to that point, step by step by step. And every day takes you closer and closer to the point where you say, you know what, this is it. This is it. It's time to do something different. And she probably reached that point. And listen, we've all heard stories about the entertainment industry, specifically music industry, and how difficult it is, especially for women. And so I can only imagine what her experiences have been like in that industry. And you never know, this could have been a response to how she was treated. And so she just felt like, listen, I've reached this level of success. I feel now that I should be able to do this the way that I want to do it, present myself the way I want, talk the way I want, make music the way that I want. And you either like it or you don't. If you don't, that's fine. But leave me alone if you don't, because I don't want to hear it. And so I think she may have just hit that point in her life where she decided to change. And not only that, this transit from Uranus was the decan it was in was Venus. If you're not familiar with decanates, basically every sign has 3 weeks in it. And each week has, I guess you could say, a sub ruler, a ruler other than that. So, other than the ruler of the sign. And so, at that point, Uranus was in Taurus, and it was at the beginning of Taurus. So, the ruler of Taurus is Venus, and that kind of like sub ruler of that decan was Venus as well. And I mentioned earlier, her natal Venus is in her first house. And of course, we've been talking about how the first house has to do with how we present ourselves. So hopefully you're starting to connect the dots and see how this has made her change, how this has made her want to connect with people in a different way and present herself in a different way. And it made her change her aesthetic, if you will. All right, so that was number 3. Last but not least, number 4, her solar return Neptune conjunct Saturn. So she's also had that her natal Neptune is in the 3rd house, ruling her 5th house. And there's I said that there was like a mutual reception between these two charts, her solar return and natal chart, but this also could be tied to misunderstandings, mystery about changes she made in terms of the mystery for other people, not so much for her. She knows exactly why she's doing what she's doing. But misunderstandings for the public in terms of understanding why she's decided to do some of the things that she's done. And I have also seen or heard comments about people not feeling she was as attractive as she was before. And if you look at the cover of her first, cover of her first CD or album or whatever, and then you look at her later, there's a drastic change in aesthetic. And so some people had extreme reactions to that. And so I believe she also made a song in response to that, basically saying what I just said. She doesn't care. So, and so that also may be tied to the Uranus and the need to go into this different direction. So that's really all I have on her, all I wanted to explore on her specifically, just why she's so different and why she does not fit the prototype of what a Libra would be. I don't know if that was bothering you or if you had questions about that, but I definitely had questions about that. It was one of those things I wanted to understand. And so after looking at her chart, I feel like I understand it a little better now. So I hope you do too. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Do you like Doja Cat's music? How do you feel about how she looks? And once you look at her chart, is there anything else that you think stands out in terms of why she's so different from other artists. In the meantime, I hope to see you at the next video. Take care.